Hi guys, so we'll be starting with price discrimination. So let me first define what price discrimination actually stands for. It's just like as you can see in my second bullet and the notes that I've made, that it occurs when different prices are charged for same or similar products, right? And we get to see price discrimination under imperfect competition, right? So there are two things. Firstly, we charge, like, the firstly is the definition, right? Ki different prices are charged for same or similar products. It's okay, no problem in that. And secondly, it is observed under imperfect competition. Now you might come across this as a doubt in your head, like why it doesn't occur, why we won't get to see price discrimination under perfect competition. The answer is simple, that under perfect competition a firm is a price taker. So when a firm is a price taker, it doesn't have the autonomy or the control over the market or the prices, so it need not to change the prices, or it can't change the prices on its own. Okay. Now before getting into the depth, now let's discuss a few general examples of price discrimination, right? You might even have come across such examples. Now let me just bring them into front of you. So firstly is this railways thing, right? So you might end up paying different prices for the same tickets for the journey of same distance. And when will that happen? For example, you have booked your ticket a month before your journey, right? So the price that you will be paying in that case will be of course lower than what you'll be paying when you have just booked your ticket a day before your journey. That is in Tatkal and all thing, right? So that is for the same or similar services you are paying more here in this case and less in this case. Or let me give an unorganized example, right? When you go to a fruit seller, for example, and you ask what is the price of banana, he says 30 rupees a dozen, right? You say if we want to buy 5 dozen, he says I'll charge 100 rupees. The price came down to 20 rupees a dozen. So all of a sudden from 30 rupees a dozen, the price came to 20 rupees a dozen for the same dozen bananas. So this is also an example of price discrimination. Now based on different types, the way price discrimination is practiced or it is seen, we come across 3 different types of price discrimination, right? So it is first degree price discrimination, second degree price discrimination, and third degree price discrimination. Now let us discuss first degree price discrimination. So as I have written over here, that is charging maximum one is prepared to pay. Okay? So one over here is customer or consumer. Okay? One. So now since I'm concerned with the price that each and every consumer is willing to pay at its highest, like whatever the highest price that one consumer is ready to pay. So we also call this thing as personalized pricing, because we are concerned with each and every person. So we can also call it personalized pricing. Now let me give you an example. Say for a biscuit packet, right? If you really like a biscuits packet, say Oreo, and you really need it, and it gives you a higher level of utility, you might be ready to pay 20 rupees for this thing. Where someone can be who doesn't like them, he's not even ready to pay 5 rupees for it. Okay? So there can be different prices based on an individual's preference for a particular good. Okay? So since there can be different prices, so first degree price discrimination focuses on trying to charge the maximum that a consumer is willing to pay. Say for example, if you are ready to pay 20 rupees for this biscuits packet, and I as a producer or a seller, I'm only charging you 5 rupees. So who is at loss? Of course I'm at loss. I'm at loss. Okay? So it becomes my duty, or like not duty in exact words, but it becomes useful for me. It becomes really important for me to maximize profits, and in order to do so, I'll try charging the maximum that you are ready to pay. But before getting into like example and all, let me tell you one more thing. Like, do you really think so? Okay, it's possible for me as a producer or as a seller to determine what you are ready to pay for a particular good? I don't think so it's possible for me. Or even if it's possible, it's going to be really expensive for me. Like I'll be putting in too much research, I'll be putting in too much resources in that research, and it won't be much fruitful to me, right? So this is more of a theoretical benchmark, I must say. This is more of a theoretical benchmark, right? Not practical. So this first degree price discrimination is more of a theoretical benchmark, and it's not practically feasible, or even if it's feasible, like we can think of a few examples. What are they? कि let's वही जो बनाना वाला example था, right? This banana example, we can relate some another example. We can take a handicraft example, for example, कि जैसे कोई एक local seller है, he's charging say 1,000 rupees for particular piece of handicraft, है ना? Local है, local, like call it a vendor, कि कोई गली मोहल्ले में जो बेचने आते हैं, ठीक है? And now there is some auntie who is really good at her bargaining skills, and she quotes like मैं 150 रुपया दूंगी. So now what may happen that the seller who was ready to charge 1,000 rupees for his product might even end up selling that product for 250 or 300 or something like that, just say for example. Or there's someone who is not good at bargaining skills, he might end up paying 1,000 rupees. So right, in that case the seller knows what an individual customer is ready to pay for the good, and he will end up charging the maximum that he can. Okay, so now let me explain it through the curve, through the diagrammatic approach. So here for simplicity, let's assume that MC is constant. MC is constant and there are no fixed costs. So when there are no fixed costs, MC is equals to AC. So this is our MC is equals to AC curve, and we are having our MR and AR. So what is the profit maximizing output? Our profit maximizing output will be where MR is equals to MC. So this gives us output is equals to Q1 and the price is equals to AC1. So from our previous knowledge of costs and revenue, we know that the cost in that case is going to be this AC thing, and the price in this thing is going to be this P1 thing. So for every unit, we are going to end up this much profits, that is P1 minus AC1. And for Q1 unit, what will be our profit? This green shaded area. This green shaded area is our profit when there is no price discrimination. Okay. What happens is under first degree price discrimination, what I am doing that I'm charging the maximum that a consumer is willing to pay. Okay. So for selling every additional unit, जो कि मेरा MR होगा, कि by selling every additional unit, what will be it equal to? It will be equal to the price that I'm charging from you. I'm charging to you as a seller. So in that case, my MR will be equals to AR. So what actually is MR without first degree price discrimination will become our MR also after practicing the price discrimination. So this is our new MR. MC curve remains constant. So the new profit maximizing output is this Q2 thing. So now our profit, now cost remains the same, and the revenue remains under the AR curve. So our total profit is this entire, like let's call it A, B, C. So this entire triangle ABC is our new profit. So after practicing first degree price discrimination, what did we notice? That from green box, our new profit increased to these two red boxes also. So this is the gain that we have made out of first degree price discrimination. Okay. So at the end, we notice that it's after practicing first degree price discrimination, I'm sorry, it was my bad, the firm ended up increasing its profit. Okay. Now let's shift to second degree price discrimination. Right. Now let's discuss second degree price discrimination. So coming to first of all its definition, what exactly it stands for? Firm offers range of different pricing options for same or similar products. Okay. What can we think of? Again, the example that I gave you earlier, that railway one, is a kind of this thing, right? Ki firm was firm, that is railways over there. Like we are not taking railways as a firm, but we are just taking railways as someone who intends or aims to maximize their profits or revenues, right? Okay. So that example can be really seen from this point of view. So the different prices, they are conditioned on factors such as quantity. That banana example that I gave you, the more you are gonna purchase, the lenient that seller is going to be at charging lower price to you when it is purchased. For example, let me give you that cinema example. Okay, key, like there is someone who wishes to watch first day first show, so of course he'll be ended up paying more than someone who's ready to watch it on say weekdays, है ना, वीकडेज पे देखने को तैयार है या मॉर्निंग शो देखने को तैयार है, सो ही विल बी पेइंग लेस. So for the same movie, for the same theater, for might be the same seat, they can be different prices. For the version of the product, say let me give you a relevant example, है ना, आप लोग मोबाइल से रिलेट कर पाएंगे. So for example, let's take the example of OnePlus. So firstly the company released OnePlus, then it released OnePlus 17, then it even released some Marvel sort of thing, you know, Marvel edition and all, and it charged differently for all of them. So when time duration, when is concerned, we call it intertemporal pricing. And this thing is called versioning. But again, when you consider the example that I have given you, है ना, OnePlus वाला example, so let me tell you कि it is not actually a pure price discrimination, not a pure price discrimination, because there slight variations exist, right? Variations exist कि each and every product is not same. So it is not the example of pure price discrimination, as products are varying in these cases, right? Now coming to the diagrammatic explanation of second degree price discrimination. So as I already told you, that firm might offer different range of price options. So for example, let's only consider the demand curve over here and different prices that I as a producer am ready to charge my customers. Okay, so when the price was P1, say the market demand for my good was Q1, so I ended up generating this much revenue. So call it R1, we can call it anything, it's up to us. When I reduced the price to P2 after say 6 months of the launch of my product, and a price came down to P2, now even more people are ready to buy my product, so it changes, demand changes from Q1 to Q2, price reduces from P1 to P2, so now even I end up generating more revenue, and so is in this case from Q2 to Q3 and P2 to P3. So what initially the revenue that I was generating over here is this green shaded area is now it even includes this blue and this red shaded area. Okay, so the firm ends up doing better, okay, and that was the objective of the firm, because some customers are more price sensitive than others. Okay, and that was also the example that banana examples also suits with कि जब price इतना था, we were only consuming 1 dozen. When we said him that we want to consume Q3, he eventually reduced the price, so he ends up earning more revenue. Okay, so that is just second degree price discrimination. Now coming on the third degree price discrimination, right? So what happens in this case is that we might we might divide customers into different groups based on some characteristics. Okay, now what can be these characteristics? These should be easy to observe, these should be acceptable to consumers, these should be legal, and impossible or costly to change. Say for example, age, gender, not this thing, comma, or location. Now age and gender are like, they can't be changed. Now if someone wants to change his or her location to avail some benefits that a particular producer or seller is giving to people located in a particular locality, he'll have to incur very high costs, right? So these can be the characteristics on which we can divide a market. Say for example, we have divided a market here. We can take the example, right? We can again take the example of that railway thing, है ना, कि senior citizens pay less than others, है ना, senior citizens or females, they pay less than the other normal non-senior citizens first, let's say. Or we can even take tourism as an example, like some tourism spots कि जो foreign tourists होते हैं, they people pay, foreigners pay more than the domestic tourists. So for the same service, what they did is they divided group into a foreigners one and a domestic tourist one, and now they're charging less price for this one and higher price for this one. So that is also example of third degree price discrimination. Okay, but it is not going to be the case कि from same foreigners they are going to charge different prices, right? For same domestic tourists they are going to charge different prices. So that is same prices to all in the same group. Okay. So what example, say for example, this is for the foreigners one, this is for the domestic ones, and this is total in general, right? In general, or a common one, take a common for all. So for foreigners, since they have come to a country from like covering thousands of miles, they want to go to a particular monument when they have spent this much amount. So they demand to see, like for example, their demand for that monument is going to be a little inelastic than these people. So they'll end up paying more price for this. Okay, MCs, we are assuming this thing concept, don't take this into this concept, right? It is just an example. I can't think of any better example, so just take that as an example. You might think of MC as the cost of maintaining that particular tourist spot, or the salary or the cost that the government is incurring on the staff or something like that. And for domestic ones, the price is over here. So what will happen ki eventually when we'll make a demand curve for the entire market, it will have a kink, as it's having over here. And for the MR, when we are doing this thing ki this one is, so MR will be discontinuous. So this is how it's gonna be for the third degree price discrimination, that we discriminated on between consumers on the basis of some observable characteristics, and we divided them into two different markets. Okay, or since we can see that here it is higher and here it is a lower one, as the demand is more elastic, and this is a common one for this. So we can observe that Px is greater than Pm star and Py. Okay, so this is also a conclusion that we draw out of this thing. But there should be, there has to be few conditions, right? It should not be the case that those who are buying from domestic tickets, like those who are buying domestic tickets, can go and sell them here to foreigners at a higher price. Then the government or the firm will be at loss. Okay, so there is one condition. We can also talk about these strategies which involve price discrimination, that is peak load pricing and two-part tariff. So it is exactly the same thing as I said about that say cinema example that I gave you. Ki as soon as you want to observe, or if the thing is at peak, if the demand for a good is particularly higher in a particular time period, then they are going to charge you more. And two-part tariff thing is fixed cost to excess, and then regular payments for use. So again, for the same commodity, for the same thing to use, you will end up paying how much you are going to consume. Again, this is related with quantity thing, which we studied in second degree price discrimination. So I hope all of this is clear to you. Okay, thank you.